force if Assad does not comply. Russia has failed in that goal. We retain the option of using force if there is not full compliance.
Senator Corker, we have been trying to arm the rebels, the opponents of Assad, or at least that's what we have said. We've seen very little evidence that any of that aid has gotten to Syria at this point. What will be the impact of these developments this weekend on those efforts? And do we now have to do more than we were doing on trying to reinforce and help the opponents?
Look, Bob, I was just in the region a few weeks ago and could not have been more dismayed at our lack of support for the opposition. I know Carl was there maybe a week before I was, and sensed the same thing. So one of the things that I pressed yesterday with Secretary Kerry, is this going to in any way affect our support of the opposition? And we certainly have not done what we need to. It has hurt our credibility, certainly on the ground. I think the opposition views this agreement as a setback. But the way to counter that, I think, is to much more strongly equip and train the opposition there on the ground. We have been remiss. We've announced that we're doing something, but what we've done certainly has not been at the pace that it should be.
Well, what about that, Senator Levin?
Well, I agree with that. Syria has tried very hard and will continue to try to make it a condition of its compliance with this agreement between Russia and the United States that the United States not support the opposition. We are not going to agree to that. We have supported the opposition. I agree, not sufficiently. I have always called for increasing the military pressure on Assad by supporting the opposition, and I think we should do that. And we now, I think, have some indication from the administration recently that there will be ways found to provide greater military support, hopefully including anti-tank weapons, for the opposition. We recognize them as the legitimate representative of the Syrian people, and I think we should provide greater military support, or at least help others facilitate provision of additional military support.
Well, how do we know, Senator Corker, which of these opposition forces we need to support? We know there's Al-Qaeda there in very large numbers, if the latest estimates are correct.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time. I know General Petraeus was spending time while he was there trying to understand which of these groups we should support and which not. I think it's been overstated from the standpoint of how much of a role Al-Qaeda is playing, and some of the foreign fighters are playing there. There's a whole group of folks, Bob, not unlike you or Carl or myself, where our neighborhoods have been infiltrated with a regime who've risen up and want to protect their villages, want to see a pluralistic government take place there. Those are the folks that we need to be supporting. We're coalescing around Idris, who obviously is disappointed with the results of these talks, but we've coalesced around him. We've got to certainly support them in a much stronger way. That's the second war that so many of us have talked about, and that is, after Assad, who is going to control the country? So look, I think we know more than we let on publicly about which groups to support and which not. We need to do much more to help them. Our intelligence agencies, I think, have a very good handle on who to support and who not to support. And there's going to be mistakes. We understand. Some people are going to get armed that should not be getting armed. But we still should be doing everything we can to support the Free Syrian opposition.
Senator Levin, what kind of grade would you give the President on the way he's handled?
I give him a very good grade because he's taken a very difficult step, because he has always been very reluctant to use force. He believes force should be the last option, and I have to agree with that. But he has decided, despite a lack of great public support here, that we must respond to the use of chemicals in this way by the Syrian regime, or else we will ultimately be threatened, and our troops will ultimately be threatened if the use of chemicals become just a routine weapon. And so he has taken a stand which I believe is the right stand. It's a courageous stand, because even though the rest of the world says there must be a response, when it comes to actually acting, to act against Assad for that response, then the rest of the world is kind of pulling up short. But the President
performance. That's